With God, there is always more. More love, more life, more freedom. Welcome to Zoweh's Exploring More with Michael Thompson. C.S. Lewis once wrote, "Our Heavenly Father has provided many delightful ends for us along our journey, but He takes great care to see that we do not mistake any of them for home." Join me and the team as we explore the kingdom together, discovering the deep truths and offering encouragement for the journey. There is always more. Welcome, friends and allies, to the Exploring More podcast. I'm Michael Thompson, hanging out with SJ in the new year.
Yeah, man. 2022.
2022.
It's one of those years that makes it a little more complicated in terms of math. You know, when you're trying to figure out, Sherry and I were talking about that this morning, like when we met, how long have we been together? No, it's longer than 32 years. It's 33 and a half. I mean,
yeah.
Anyway.
Rob and I were married in 90, so that's really nice.
Super easy.
You know, but even my own age, I'm like, am I 57?
Right.
Well, I'm going to be 58.
Yeah,
no,
that's true for me. I was born in 70, so that makes it,
that's nice and easy.
Yeah, it makes it easy.
Yeah. And the other thing that's goofy about the New Year shift, you know, writing checks, writing anything, you know, that has a date, that's a New Year's challenge for me sometimes to get out of. I really never got really into 21. I don't know if we just went into a very large time warp with COVID and 2020
I don't
and
know
what that was.
I want to go back to writing checks. Does anybody write checks
I do.
anymore?
I still do. You know why? It gives me a feeling of accomplishment. That I don't know why that does. Entering it into the ledger, you know, and I still do write a few checks. A lot of the stuff on auto pay and all that.
Yeah.
But, oh, what a hassle when something is compromised, you know, in the world of your debit and credit cards and stuff. Oh my gosh.
Yeah, I've made the shift fully to the online deal, man. Like if somebody asks, it's more of a hassle for me if somebody asks me for a check. Like I don't even know where they are. You know, I know I have some somewhere. I'm not sure it's the right bank, you know.
I don't know what that is in me, sentimental or...
Well, and it can be satisfying as a type 1. You like checklists. And
that's right.
I know this about you. I'm going to clue you in here, listeners. Michael sometimes writes things down just so he can cross them off.
Yeah, man.
Yeah.
Doesn't everybody?
I mean, I know there's a lot of people that resonates with. There's no doubt.
And I try to do it on my phone sometimes. It's not the same though as paper, pen, little note cards.
Right.
You know, I mean, look, this is so funny.
Okay, he's reaching in his pocket now.
There's my there's my 3 sheets from this 4.
Got a couple of cocktail napkins, some Post-it notes.
Oh yeah, man. Yeah. Very satisfying. So
that's great.
Yeah. So the new year, man. Yeah, it's amazing to turn into the new year. I think it's a great time for what we want to talk about. This is a podcast on Into the New Year. What we bring, what we might be looking forward to, what we're concerned about, fearful, anxious is kind of another category, you know, all of that. Yeah, the news is still challenging. It always is. But
wonky.
But we still have I don't even know what to call it from... It's drawn on and on and on. I think it's resurging here. It's resurging there. It has different categories.
To a lesser threat, right? I mean, you know, this new this new variant apparently is not as threatening. So I don't know what's going on.
And we've had team members in the end of December, we had Zoweh Team members kind of junk hit their family, colds and flus, and tested negative. But man, when you get a little sick now, when you get a little scratchy throat or you get a little sinusy, there's another category that 2020, 2021 brought in, and it's a nervous reality of, oh my gosh, you know, am I okay?
Well, and I find too, if I've got because I had I think it was a sinus infection or something. Last time we recorded, I don't know if you could hear the difference in my voice.
Yeah.
But
well, thank you, Serena, for your editing, because there was a couple hack downs that
where we had to pause.
Said, sorry, Serena, you know,
talk out a loogie,
but back out.
But there's back to 7th grade just in that moment. But
I haven't heard loogie in decades.
But anyway, I was less concerned about how I was feeling and the congestion and all that than like how might people perceive me sounding sick.
Yeah. Oh, clearing your throat in the grocery feels like a capital offense.
Right. Right.
And we get it, you know.
I mean, Lord forbid that you sneeze in a public place. People freak.
Robin has one of the funniest stories of doing that in Whole Foods, you know, some months ago. And this guy down, 10 feet away, this older guy goes, really? She's telling me the story. She still wasn't sure what she should be mad or
what am I supposed to do?
Throw a box of Cheerios down at him, like, dude.
Yeah.
I'm
sorry, I'm not a perfect person. I sneeze too. Anyway, so
it's dust.
Yeah, man. Yeah.
So
Funny.
We're bringing that into the new year. We'll kind of try to fit that into the podcast here, but there's a lot of, a new year brings with it a lot of opportunity. It's like a fresh whiteboard or a fresh easel. It's just for those of us who still write checks, chalkboards.
That's right.
It's a
chalkboards.
So, what?
Yeah, it's sort of like when we talked about in the last couple of episodes where, it's an opportunity if you want to start a new discipline or start doing time alone with God, what's that look like for you in the morning, in the afternoon? So it does sort of provoke these thoughts of, okay, new year, new start. What am I doing different this year?
Right.
Yeah. So I'd love to talk about what that looks like for Zoweh.
Yeah.
In the new year. We got a lot going on.
I thought we'd do that on the front end. And then after the break, I'd love to go back to some of the more personal things because, sounds kind of Yogi Berra when I say, wherever you are, there you are. You're bringing things with you. As much as I try, or I think those of us who want to segment our lives between work and maybe church and family, it's all integrated, man. And I think in the spiritual life, in the kingdom life, it's supposed to be, where you are, there you are. And you're bringing some of the wounding and the hurt and the messages of the wounds with you. And you're bringing your glory. You're bringing your goodness. You're bringing the unique way you reflect God and the unique way that you are as an image bearer, bringing Trinity DNA into the world and into those spaces. I think that's why we love Graham Cook. So much of his encouragement is about this integrated life.
Yeah.
That us with God, God with us, living in us, and us living in him. Mm-hmm. Such a fascinating mystery.
Mm-hmm.
And we carry that into whatever season we're stepping into, end of year, new year, summer, all the different seasons. So, SJ, I think our listeners might enjoy, I hope they will, just a little bit of Zoweh, what we're taking into the new year, different initiatives, different things. And I'd love to kick off with, one of the things that God put on my heart the last 6 months, and nothing wrong, bro, with the word ministry, nothing wrong with it at all.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
But it means something.
It has a definition to it. It rings a certain way to people, but I can only explain it as God said to me. It sounds a little like Vasily in the Princess Bride. Like that word does not
using that word.
It does not mean what you think it means, But the word ministry, it was like God said, I remember hearing him say, "You don't have to call it that." And I was like, "Really?"
Do you think?
I'm kind of excited that it's not Zoweh Ministries or that we have to. And again, ministries, we need them. It's a beautiful thing. But this idea of stepping into the new year with, mission. We're on mission. We live on mission. We're behind enemy lines. We're taking the kingdom, advancing the kingdom, sowing kingdom seeds. And I can't wait for the next podcast series, by the way, on
we're going to talk about the
kingdom for 4 or 5 weeks. So excited about that as I've been exploring and walking with God in that. But the mission.
So I think about a couple of things as you say that, Michael, and you and I have been talking about that. We've been talking about that as a team now for a couple of weeks now, but I really haven't had a chance to think about it in this way until just this moment. So I know you've shared when you were writing the book and when you've written King Me, Search and Rescue, one of the things that Bob, shout out to Bob, your editor, said to you was it feels like you're really trying to prove your point by using a lot of scripture and, validating yourself that this really is biblical,
Yeah.
So is there anything in this trying to release the word ministries that could tie to that, where you have to prove to somebody that we're not just, a group of folks doing life together, but we're really a valid organization.
Yeah, we're a legitimate 501c3.
That's right. That's right. So is there anything in that? And then the other thing I was thinking about was, when we meet a guy for the first time, we say, "Hey, I'm SJ," and usually it's, "Oh, so what do you do?" Right? And so much of how we perceive somebody or identify with or identify that person is by what they do. And so are you trying to, not that we're not a ministry, right? But rather than that being our identity, we'd rather be known as an organization, and then you find out, oh, they're a ministry, rather than just reading it on a piece of paper. Is that what you're going for?
That's probably all in there. I think that's a great question and observation. I think of, it's kind of like using the word church. There's a church proper, like there's a ministry proper. There's church proper that is First Baptist, First Pres, Life Church, City Church, Hope Church. There's this corner or building or this place that is church, and then there's church that is the body of Christ. There's this church that is what we call redemptive community. So we've reshaped some of those things along our journey and identified them a little differently than maybe what we grew up with.
Right. Yeah. Our Wednesday group, our small group of men, redemptive community, that's church to me.
Yeah. And yet it wouldn't be church to some.
That's right.
But it's brotherhood, it's sharing, it's being known. It's a lot of things that I think we associate with church now, rather than going to 11 o'clock, finding the parking spot.
Right.
And getting somewhere for brunch or lunch or the Sunday ritual kind of thing that the book of Acts tells us, they lived together. They took care of each other. And I know that's what church is and is supposed to be. With that, let's take a quick break.
Yeah.
And we'll come right back with more on the Exploring More podcast.
All right. Sounds good.
Hey, friends and allies of Exploring More podcast. We wanted to bring some attention to some of our free downloadable resources on our Zoweh website. First, there's a 14-day devotional on being fathered by God. This is the same devotional that you can get a PDF download on our website. You also can find on the YouVersion Bible app. Also, the 14-day devotional on the heart of a warrior, another great resource to walk through with men or in your own time alone with God. The last free download that we want to draw attention to is the biblical theology of the heart. Is the redeemed heart good? Is this piece of equipment that is so vital to living in the kingdom, is it good or is it not? Download the biblical theology of the heart to find out more. You can find these 3 resources and many other free downloads and free audio files on our website at www.zoweh.org. So back to ministry versus mission. And I think a way I would describe it, SJ, is just taking some stock and shifting it. If it was a portfolio, I would be moving stock to what I think is a more aggressive stock, a more aggressive word, a more
potential for a greater return. Maybe, in that context.
Yes, we minister to people, we care for people, we encourage people, we love people and want to love them to life, love and freedom, right? More life, love, more love, more freedom orientation. But I think about how mission describes, I think, how we feel around the tower, how we feel around one another, what we talk about. We don't have a boardroom, we have a war room. So these words matter, right? We try not to call it the office, we call it the tower.
Yeah, we don't have a staff, we have a team.
We have a team, right. Yes, there's such color to these different words and substance and meaning. And I believe that, God has been saying, it's okay. These are not just descriptive words, but this is what you do. This is how I see you. I give you permission to be a mission, to be on mission, to walk with me in mission. And that feels different than walk with me in ministry.
Very different. Yeah.
And so stepping into the new year, stepping into this next season, that's just one thing that, from a canopy over us and an alignment that we want to be engaged with God under his provision and protection. I think mission is, I'm not necessarily going to write to the federal 501c3 and change it just yet, but that's where stuff like that comes from, where you identify differently. And so it's time to file the paperwork.
Mm-hmm.
But that paperwork's already been filed in my heart, bro. It's really, really been true of not just what I feel, but what I hope for. And when I think of hope, that has a forward thinking and a forward movement. I'm hopeful for not only that we're on mission, but that we are on mission in rescuing hearts, in encouraging, in providing resources, in shaping environments. Mm-hmm. Those are the missional things that we step into on a regular day-to-day basis. So,
yeah, and just for clarity for our listeners, I mean, this doesn't mean that we're not a ministry. It doesn't mean that we're moving away from God or anything. So as our friend and teammate would say, Greg Saylors would say, don't hear what we're not saying, okay? Right. It's just words matter.
Right.
And it's more appropriate, it's more accurate to talk about mission in our endeavor at Zoweh.
Yeah. Yeah. This is a year into the new year for Zoweh too, SJ, is, we're kind of redefining a lot of things. We look at the things that we do. Yes, there's a general operation to it all. There's partners and donors who are a big, big part of Zoweh and fueling things, but there's also resources that we create. And, you're the new division, we've kind of taken some new roles on into the new year.
Yeah.
The divisional directors, the divisional presidents, the divisional, whatever we're, going to become. That's words we want to settle on. But we have, SJ, you're taking over the resource division and giving leadership and oversight to that. We got Greg doing what he does in allies and development and relationships, and Sherry, who's been not unbelievably good, it's believable. She's been unbelievably impactful in organizing our events to a level and a standard that, it was beyond my capacity 5-6 years ago. So to bring those three divisions, general operations, resources, and environments, conferences, and give those to three different hearts who are bringing their goodness, their glory to those divisions, that's something Zoweh is doing differently into the new year. And it's shaping our conversations on the day-to-day, who does what.
Yeah, we don't like to operate under the idea that there's a hierarchy.
Right.
We like round tables more than boardroom tables, rectangular ones. At the same time, in order for an organization to grow, there has to be growth that you're describing, and it's not quite as far from my perspective as, Carwood Lipton was a sergeant who was doing all the things a lieutenant would do, and then they just put the pin on him.
Yeah.
You've been doing this the whole time. But I've been involved with resources. Sherry's been involved with events.
This wasn't hard to do.
Greg's been involved with development and partners and operations. But I see it, Michael, as a formal way and at a deeper level than we've been operating,
right,
to take some of this off of your plate too, and change, not that you're not involved in all of that, but when you add responsibility and you add titles matter.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not proud in that sense of, now somebody's going to call me a director or whatever they're going to call me. I like the idea of it freeing you up. If I take on more responsibility, it means you are freer to do more of what God is leading you to do.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's what a team is for. And that's why the team, brings that added capacity. And that's how we grow as an organization, for sure.
And I think going into the new year, that's charting, uncharted, I should say, that's uncharted water. And yet we've learned to sail up to this point certain ways. And I think these modifications are going to be really, really good for not only our team, but for the mission that we're on. It's still a small team of core teammates, and then there's the little larger team that's deployed in many different situations. But because of the way we roll, we talk a lot about it. It's like a farm, we're on a farm, and so there's chores, and we have to go help one another in different parts of the farm, different parts of the fields, different things that need, all of our attention at different times, like end of year, finishing all of the end of year financial development budgets and thank yous. That's a 60-day. Maybe if you ask Greg, that starts in September, talking
August.
about it, and then at the same time, we've got the conferences going on that we've got to change gears and move over there and talk about what's coming. Where are we in the recruiting, inviting? Where are we in our team? Our conference teams are full of volunteers and full of allies and alumni. And then the resource piece is just one of the things we took away from COVID in 2020 that took us into 21 was, just how important the resource division is, how important it is to people. And even, from the podcasting to, some of the new resources coming, literally the new women's deepening journey, the new women's resource.
Yeah, it's a small group resource. Yeah.
That's been a year in the making.
And we say small group so, people understand what we're saying. But for our listeners, for you guys that know Zoweh, it's a redemptive community resource.
Right.
And that's what we're trying to do is create resources and environments,
for people to connect
community
with God and each other. And that's what redemptive community is. So
Yeah. So listeners, if you've got any questions, comments, you want to have a little more clarity about the new year and 4-year journey, just email us at exploringmore@zoweh.org. And if you would, leave us a rate review on your podcast platform of choice. It helps our message to get out there and to be found. And as we enter into this new year, close out 2021, I do just want to say thank you for listening. We really appreciate you.
Yeah. We hope you have enjoyed this episode of Exploring More. The landing page for this podcast is zoweh.org/podcast. That's ZOWEH.org/podcast, where you can find the show notes and various platforms to which we broadcast. You can also find us and the Life of More by visiting Zoweh on YouVersion Bible app, Right Now Media, our Facebook page, and Zoweh on Instagram and Twitter. Remember, with God there is always more, and you were made for more.